It's Monday.
It's Monday.
You know what that means. Time for another episode of the Hottest Sports Podcast in all the universe. It's the Flex Zone Podcast, only place giving you sports how you want it when you need it. And today, we're taking a ride down 95, and we're getting off at exit 52. We'll let you know what that means momentarily, but another loaded show as we inch closer to episode 400. We're talking Ravens. We're talking O's. Got to talk about that Chris Paul trade. NBA free agency starting to heat up. And there's a new point guard for Rogers Wiz in the nation's capital. You guys know the drill. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Hit that bell. It's the Flex Zone Podcast, episode 398, as we inch closer to episode 400, right here, only on YouTube. That's right. More exciting than the Uncle Raj, Big Raj birthday weekend, because it's cancer season, baby. It's a Flex Zone Podcast, fellas. Only place giving you sports how you want it.
When you need it.
We are running a 3-man weave tonight with the main crew, sending love and light to our brother Cavante. He won't be on tonight, but everybody just send love and positivity to him. He will be back with us next week for episode 399. So, Cavante, we love you, brother, and we're here if you need anything. But as I mentioned, episode 398, 2 away from the milestone episode 400. We got it all for you tonight. A little bit of Orioles, some Ravens, of course. 1 month away from training camp, everybody. And, of course, we're going to get into that NBA free agency frenzy. Chris Paul got traded. Dame Lillard talking about his future. And we got a WWE PLE this weekend as well. You guys know the drill at the Flex Zone 1 on Twitter, Instagram, the YouTube. You already here. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And, of course, as always, you can keep up with us by hitting that bell. And, as always, the flexzone1@gmail.com if you would like to be a part of the craziness that we do up here on the show. But let's not waste any time. Let's introduce the panel. He is a social media producer. He is the meat man. He is the birthday boy.
Birthday boy,
again. Yeah. Everybody, first of all, let's wish a happy birthday to Big Raj. Uncle Raj. He's another year younger, as we say. Big shout out to you, my guy. How you feeling, my brother?
The daddy has finished it
go.
This whole weekend. It's been crazy. Shout out to everybody that helped me celebrate my birthday. Shout out to Tati. Shout out to Dre, shout out to you, Byron, from yesterday's stream. Shout out to everybody that sent me love on Facebook and Instagram. Appreciate all you guys. Can't wait to do the show. We have a special guest from a great podcast coming up. So let's get it started.
Yes, Mark, we got some new themes. Let me know how you like the music, Mark. Angela, I see you in the chat. Funny Rob. Next man, he is the head of the Flex Zone table. His birthday is quickly approaching. And as we like to say, ain't no day better than Dre Day. He's a pride of the East Side Savior Misbehavior. He is the curator of this here podcast, the super producer, the dean of Baltimore Orioles University. My brother, he's getting another year younger as well, but he keeps getting wiser. The right-hand man, the left-hand man, he's just the man. Drizzy Dre.
The ones up acknowledge us.
Yes, sir.
You know what? Acknowledge the cancers, because it's our season.
Our season, baby.
I had a good time with Uncle Raj over the weekend for his birthday. It was funny that somebody actually called him the meat man. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
It's catching on, man. It's getting over, as they say. It's getting over.
Then she said, before I left, she said, finish him, Daddy. I said, Lord Jesus. Hey. I said, just take care. I said, just take care of him. It's his birthday. Whatever y'all do after that, hey.
Hey, We have fun. Let's just say that. We have fun.
And of course, I miss my good brother. So, like you said, send our prayers and condolences to him. He'll be back for the next episode. But I mean, I'm excited for our guest tonight, and like you said, inching closer and closer to that milestone episode.
Enough about us. We're here every week, but this next man, he's part of a podcast that I enjoy. I actually told Dre, I sent you the information. I said we got to try to get these guys on the show. They are part of the Exit 52 podcast. If you don't know, he's going to tell you all about it. He's Jake. You can follow them at Exit 52 podcast. I'm going to put it up so you guys can show love to them. Go ahead, subscribe to their YouTube, follow them on IG, all the things that they do. They cover Baltimore sports. They have a lot of lifestyle topics as well. But without further ado, welcome to the Flex Zone Palace for the first time, hopefully not the last, part of the Exit 52 podcast. Our boy Jake. Jake, what's going on?
Yeah.
Gotta bring you in right, brother. How you feeling? Welcome to the Flex Zone.
Fellas, I'm good. Thanks for having me on. That's quite an intro. I don't know if I've ever got one like that. Feels good.
Hey man, we aim to
Well
please,
deserved,
man.
man.
You up late with us. I know we got a rain delay, I think, still going on at Camden Yard. So it's been a day. And for those who don't know about you and your podcast, let the people know, what do you guys do? How can they keep up with you? And just what can they expect when they take Exit 52?
Yeah, Baltimore sports, all Baltimore all the time. We do a little bit of a lifestyle stuff, as you mentioned too. Just kind of trying to cover the area with a little bit of a different flavor, bring some authenticity to it. Bring some unique voices to it, I think. So yeah, to your point there, you can find us at Exit 52 podcast, pretty much on all platforms, and you can hit me up at Jake Luke, and that's spelled Louque. So that's the story.
Hey, it's a big show when Engraving is shouting you out, Jake. So
Yes.
you already up there. So big shout out to, we got people already subscribing to you guys' channel. So we're just going to show love. But how you feeling, Jake? It's the dog days of summer. Sports are kind of, it's that in between phase. Let's start with the O's. They are exceeding my expectations, probably a lot of people's expectations. 47-29. What do you think is the overall ceiling for this team? Now you're 2 weeks away from the All-Star break. You're leading the wild card by a couple games. Tampa is, they're within striking distance, but the AL East is always tough. What do the Orioles need to do this season? I mean, are you looking for 90 wins, 100 wins, a deep playoff run? Is it taboo to say maybe even compete for a pennant? What do you think is going to happen here in the next couple of months?
Yeah, I kind of like 90 wins as a solid kind of striking point right now. I mean, it's tough to say pennant, and it's tough to say World Series when you haven't made the playoffs in the last couple of years, and you've been in the midst of this big rebuild. And finally, it feels like kind of right on time things are starting to turn around for them. And I think you do want to take that first step. Maybe you win a playoff series or two, ideally. But yeah, I think 90 wins, that's perfectly reasonable. It's going to be tough to win this division, like you mentioned, with Tampa Bay, as good as they are. And all these other teams are frisky too. So, my expectations aren't necessarily through the roof, but I mean, I feel like they had some pretty solid expectations coming into this year. This is a team that I think was supposed to compete, and they're going out and doing that. And I think more than holding up their end of the bargain so far. So
let me go ahead, Dre. Go ahead.
Well, since we're on the topic of the Orioles, I wanted to ask, what do you feel like the Orioles need as a thing to kind of get them over the hump? Because it seems like they're destined for the playoffs, but to compete and win a couple of playoff rounds, what do you think that they need in order to get them over the hump and actually win a playoff series?
Yeah, I would say relief pitching, like middle relief pitching. So they have two of the better relievers in the league, and Felix Bautista, he's probably might be a closer, and then Yennier Cano, who's just been this revelation as their setup man. But if you can get a guy or maybe two guys, ideally, that could take you from that starter who can go 5 innings or whatever it might be to those two guys, because too often what you're getting is either a good start or like a decent start, or maybe not even a good start, and you just get a bunch of schlock in the middle innings with guys who are going out there and trying their best, but they're just really not the caliber that they should be for the middle reliever spots, and it's really costing them a little bit. So I think that's what I would be looking at personally right now.
I was going to ask to that point. You got Adley Rutschman. He's going to be the starting catcher. Batista's going to be an all-star. Cano, I think, deserves it. Austin Hayes is leading the AL in batting. He's not getting any love. Cedric Mullins is back. Jordan Westberg made his debut tonight. He's mashing in AAA. I mean, they got the best farm system possibly still in baseball. would you go out and maybe get a Corbin Burns, a Shane Bieber, one of those type of frontline starters? I mean, I may be missing a guy, but those are two names that just jumped to mind. I mean, they got to be buyers at the deadline, right?
Yeah, no, I think they certainly should be, and I think they will be to an extent. It's almost like I maybe have been gaslit into thinking that they won't make that big move because they just haven't done it, whether it's been in the regular season, which up to this point has made sense because they haven't been competitive, but they also haven't done it in the offseason. I mean, there was a lot of buzz this past offseason about them maybe going and getting a Corbin Burns or one of those types of players. So yeah, it looks like now would maybe be the perfect time to strike while the iron's hot for that top starter. And even if it is just a rental, that could be a pretty good investment, I think, because yeah, to your point, like they have some solid starters, but it's not, their strongest position either. I mean, they've got Kyle Gibson, who's been solid for them at times, but certainly inconsistent. Dean Kramer has all the talent, but he's just kind of the perfect of inconsistency too. So if you're not getting a big time start out of a guy like Tyler Wells or maybe a Bradish or whatever, it's just been a lot of unknowns. So I think you make a good point there. That could be a good investment.
And before we switch gears to the Ravens real quick, go ahead, Dre, but the game did resume, so that 4-1, bottom of the fifth, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Westberg drove one in.
Yes, sir. Hey, he's going to be something. I'm excited to see what he does.
Well, in the past, the Orioles have been, let's say, clutching their purse per se. Do you feel like the Orioles? Do you feel like this is now a changing of the guard? Because a few years ago, we did have a really solid team. And then the pitching, we kept saying that if we could just get some more pitching in there, we feel like the Orioles can like break that ceiling. Didn't happen against the Royals, and that just seemed to kind of be the window had closed at that point. Do you feel like this is now we're kind of getting back to that point, and this time we'll actually open up that pocketbook?
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, like I want to believe that they will, but they just haven't done it to this point. And, they've got the guy who's basically the owner now, John Angelos, who was Peter Angelos' son. And a lot of people complain that Peter Angelos didn't like to spend money. And that was true at times, but he did open up the pocketbook for a guy like Chris Davis. He did open it up for some other guys. So he spent money in certain spots. He just didn't spend it correctly. And so I kind of wonder, is John Angelos going to be that guy? I'm not really sure because, he made this, sort of really weird blunder this offseason where he was talking to the local media and he promised that he was going to open up the books and the financials to like the journalists, which he never should have done in the first place. But then they have the in his eyes, they have the temerity, I'll use my Stephen A word, to call him on that. And then he kind of, he gets indignant about that and everything. And he's had a weird relationship with the media thus far. He hasn't really shown me any indication that he's going to want to move. He's been in this weird legal battle with his own family. There's these relocation rumors, which I don't take any stock in, but I mean, they're there. And it's just tough to believe that this team is going to want to shell out a bunch of cash, anytime soon, I think.
I got a question for you. Now, I have not been a huge Orioles fan because when I grew up, most of the time they were losing.
Don't lie, Rod. You eat all the pizza when they win. He eats all the pizza when they win, Jake. He eats all the pizza from Papa.
Hey, and look, I do too. No shame.
That Papa John's 50% off deal is always great. But now that the Orioles are finally turning it around and they're starting to go in the right direction, and it seems like they're going to go in the right direction for a very long time. This season only, where do you think that if they do make the playoffs, how far do you think they can go?
I think they can go at least 2 rounds. I mean, I could see them getting to the ALCS. I mean, like which other AL team? And granted, like I'm a big Orioles fan. I'm not like a huge baseball guy, so I'm not that dialed into like some of these other AL teams. But like to me, when I look around, I look at the Rays, and they're obviously a formidable team. They're like a historically good team, and obviously within the same division. So that stuff, I look at them as certainly an obstacle to them. But when you talk about whatever one-off game series or a 5-game series or a 7-game series, I think they can hang with just about anybody else in the AL. So I think they could certainly take it all the way to the ALCS. It'll be tough if they can't find consistency in that middle reliever spot, but I don't know. Like every team is kind of flawed except for the Rays pretty much. So, can you get yourself to that point really is the question.
While we're talking about the Rays, what do you feel like the Orioles need in order to get over the hump of the Rays? Because that seems to be the team right now, where like kind of like with the Ravens and the Chiefs, if they can get past the Rays, then it feels like, yeah, we're right there for a championship.
Yeah, I mean, they're just not as talented this year. So I think what it would come down to is maybe you take your lumps this year and you take a loss and you get some experience. Because it's funny, like the Rays were this team a couple of years ago, and like their ownership very deliberately kind of tore things down and rebuilt it back up with cheap young talent. And I think the Orioles are sort of copying that model a little bit, interestingly. So I think it might take a couple of years of experience of getting to the playoffs, of seeing how things work, of seeing that, playoff baseball intensity that is, very famously kind of tough to deal with. And, growing a little bit and maybe bringing in some veterans next year could make them a World Series type squad. But for now, I think they're really just lacking the experience, and that'll come with time.
Well, Jake, we're going to transition. I see that beautiful stadium behind you, that beautiful picture. Like I mentioned, we're a month away from training camp. Hard to believe already. They've had their OTAs. Lamar's gotten paid. They've gotten some weapons. They've got a new offensive coordinator. They've got Roquan Smith all season. Kyle Hamilton going into year 2. David Ojabo looks like the second coming of Terrell Suggs. How are you feeling about our Ravens this season? I'm going to let you just have the floor. How do you feel about this team as we get ready to head into training camp?
I feel good, man. I feel really damn good. Like it's been a tough couple years here, where it just felt like every single little thing was just contextualized against the Lamar contract thing. And when is that going to work itself out, and this and that. And it just really kind of sapped my enjoyment of watching the team. And it really sapped my belief to an extent that they could go on and win a Super Bowl, because it just felt like and Lamar, to an extent, it felt like his mind was kind of elsewhere and he wanted to get his money. I get that. I don't begrudge him that at all, but it just made it an untenable situation after a while. You could see it weighing on him and weighing on them last season, that it just felt like that operation was going nowhere fast. And now it just feels like a little bit of a weight has been lifted. And funny enough, part of that all comes together when they finally decide to use the credit card a little bit, and they spend some money on Odell Beckham, and they get rid of Greg Roman, and they, surround Lamar with what he needs as far as receiving weapons. I mentioned Odell, you get Zay Flowers in there. It just feels like he's going to have professionals to throw to, and he's going to be playing in what I feel is going to be a certified NFL caliber passing attack for the first time in his career. No shade to Greg Roman, who was, I think, a good coordinator and obviously a great run scheme coordinator. It just feels like it was time to take that next step, and they feel poised to do that. They've got everything on the roster that they need right now to compete with anyone in this conference. I mean, he's already, Lamar and, the Ravens too, they've already beaten Pat Mahomes. They've already beaten Josh Allen. They've done all of this. They've done what they've had to do to show that they can hang with anybody in this league. And I think with the way the roster is looking right now and the improvements to the scheme that you should be seeing on the offensive side of the ball, it just feels like things are really coming together for them to be a pretty damn good team this year.
All right. So somebody on this podcast we talk about regularly, he's still out there. With all the additions made, do you feel like the Ravens should still go after DeAndre Hopkins?
I don't know if I'd say should, but I'm also like not against it. Like, and there were people that were against it, even a couple weeks back, like when it felt even like more of a possibility because I think it was pre-draft. And now that they've gotten Zay Flowers, some people have backed off of that take, but I'm almost just sitting there like, why not? Like, they already used the credit card on Beckham, and that's a lot of money, but that's only a 1-year deal, right? It's only going to cost you for 1 year. If you wanted to sign Hopkins for 1 year, whatever it might be, I don't know why that would be the biggest deal in the world. And making it work from a salary cap perspective would be difficult, certainly. So I totally get that. And there are other practical reasons too. Like, do you want to take that money and spend it on a depth piece of cornerback, which they could probably use, or spend it on pass rush help, maybe bring back a Justin Houston, which they could probably use. There are more pressing needs than wide receiver, but like, if none of the value lines up on that end of things, and if you want to go get a DeAndre Hopkins, who I think would like to come here and play with this group of guys who I think he has a lot of respect for, like, I don't really personally see why not. I don't know. Again, I don't know if I would do it, and I don't really see it happening, but I'm also at a position where I'm like, why not? Kind of feels like house money a little bit to go and make a move like that. And I kind of like that.
I got a question for you. Seeing that Marcus Peters is still out there, I thought he was going to be a Raider by now. Do you think there's a chance that he comes back here by training camp?
It's funny you say Raider, because Rocky Sin, they brought him in. And I think Ian Rappaport said on the Vault podcast, which everybody should check out with Bobby and Sarah, I think he said that when they signed Rock Ya-Sin, I feel like that was Marcus Peters' money, and maybe that ship has sailed a little bit. So I don't know. I'd love to have Peters back, and I feel like he would be kind of that depth piece at cornerback that I mentioned a little bit. But he's an interesting guy, man. It feels like he's losing a little bit of that athleticism. Injuries certainly don't help. But there's a certain thing, and we saw this with Ed Reed, guys. Like, no matter how old you get, like, playmaking kind of doesn't really tend to leave you. So, maybe you need a big play late in the year, whatever, you need an interception. He could be that guy for you, but it just felt like last year he was getting victimized a little bit more often than not. And maybe they're opting to cut bait on him a little bit early as opposed to a little bit late and just going with a little bit more of a steady presence in Rock Ya-Sin. But again, that's another one that I wouldn't be opposed to. I think a lot of things are on the table, and that certainly could be one of them still.
How do you feel about the J.K. Dobbins situation? There's another running back out there who had the same agent as him. They don't have the same agent anymore. Dalvin Cook. Not saying we should do it, but how do you feel about the J.K. Dobbins situation? The man hasn't played a full season. He wants to get paid. Saquon Barkley didn't even get paid, Jake. So what's up?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I like JK a lot. He's a really smart kid, obviously, and a great player, and like very emotional and very passionate, which you like to see. And I think that translates over well to the field. But I think he's kind of, and like it's being reported that he just straight up wants a new contract right now, but it sounds like he's willing to play through it. So, I mean, it's kind of, I'm just at a situation where it's like, all right, man, like, they're not going to give that to you. Like, let's be realistic. Like, you've been injured and you have shown plenty of potential, obviously, but you've got to show some production before they're going to give you a contract. So I don't know. Like, I just think JK is just going to have to go out there and play this season and hope he stays healthy. And beyond that, it's really tough to say anything else. Like, it's just the harsh realities of the business as it is the NFL, especially with the running backs. I think they get screwed to an extent. It would be interesting if they could, get some sort of provision written into these contracts to make it so that running backs could get taken care of at least a little bit more fairly. But as things stand right now, I think JK is just going to have to show up and ball this year and go ahead and see if he can earn himself that contract either here or elsewhere.
Even though we haven't really started training camp yet, nor have we started this season, what are your expectations going into this season? Do you think that we'll be more than just a playoff team? Do you think that this can be a Super Bowl contender? How do you think this team will shape out in the end?
I'm gonna go Super Bowl contender. I don't know if they're gonna get it done, but it's kind of also, and like, I'm a big John Harbaugh fan. It's kind of like time for John Harbaugh to like go back to a conference championship, I feel like. And maybe it's not like a make or break thing, but it's certainly been more than long enough, I think. And now there's no excuses. I mean, you've got all the pieces in the cupboard you need as far as the roster goes. You've got the new coordinator, the new hotshot coordinator with Todd Monken. Your quarterback is signed to a new contract. Like, it's time to make a big move. And whether they win the Super Bowl or not, I don't think that's necessarily going to have to be the end all be all sort of barometer, but you're going to have to show some real progress, and you're going to have to get over some playoff humps. And the vibes are just going to have to be shifted all the way back to maybe not what 2019 was, because that's almost unachievable, but something close to that, where you feel confident that every time you step onto a football field, you can win a game. I haven't felt that way about them in probably a year and a half, and it's time for them to make me start feeling that way again.
With which signing were you satisfied the most with this offseason?
Sneaky one, I think I would say, is Nelson Aguilar. And it's funny because like it happened.
Really?
Yeah, it's funny because it happened when all these other free agents were signing, and people were like, "Oh, look at the Ravens and in the wash Nelson Aguilar," like that kind of thing.
I was one of those guys.
Yeah, no, and I get it. Like, it makes sense at the moment, but like, you just, everyone settled down because a couple weeks later they signed Beckham and then they draft Flowers. And so what's going to happen, guys, is at some point Rashad Bateman or Beckham are probably going to get hurt, and somebody's going to have to step in and be a solid wide receiver 3. And I feel like Nelson Aguilar can be that. And he's got his drop issues certainly, but other than that, pretty consistently solid receiver, and he's got some explosiveness to him. So the Ravens have had, I wouldn't even say they've had worse wide receiver 4s. They've had wide receiver 2s that are the caliber of Nelson Aguilar right now. And he's your wide receiver 4, your wide receiver 5 right now. You still got Duvernay in the picture. So it's probably a little bit of a galaxy brain answer, but it just kind of opens up, or at least changes the approach that they've taken to wide receiver, where it just felt like they would make one move or, do this or that and just act like one move is going to, fix everything. It felt like they made multiple moves this offseason. One for a starter, one for a promising young player, and one for a depth piece. I'm glad they took the depth piece part seriously this offseason because it was needed.
I got a real good question for you. Which rookie do you think will stand out in this year's draft for the team? Do you think Zay might be the guy? Do you think Trenton Simpson might be the guy? Or maybe Kyle Kelly might just show up and be a legit starter?
Yeah, I gotta go Zay. I just feel like he's the guy who's gonna get the most opportunities right away. You look at Tavius Robinson, you look at Trenton Simpson, like you mentioned. I feel like those guys have some players in front of them. Robinson, maybe less to an extent. I feel like he might get on the field a little bit quicker, but I just think Zay is going to be there right away, man. He's too explosive. He's too fast. He's too talented. He's very tenacious. He wants the ball in his hands. He fights DBs to go up and get it like a Steve Smith back in the day. So I just think Zay's gonna ball out from day one, man. I love that pick, and I'm very excited about it.
Speaking of rookies, there was a rookie at left guard, our boy Sal from Oregon, and he also took Voorhees from USC, who probably will start next year. Will he win the left guard position? Because you think about it, Jake, and you probably think about this. You look at the left side, you got Ronnie Stanley. He's healthy. He's a Pro Bowler. You look to your right, you got Tyler Linderbaum. He had a hell of a rookie year. He probably will be a Pro Bowler this year. You really don't need nobody that's going to be spectacular because you got two guys to the left and to the right that are going to hold you down. So who do you think wins it? The left guard spot.
Apparently they're liking what they're seeing out of him, and they are not liking what they're seeing out of Ben Cleveland. Not exactly rave reviews there. Who it was, really supposed to be a starting guard on this team within his first year or two, and that just has not panned out at all. Attitude issues and just conditioning and all this stuff. It just hasn't worked out. So I'm not really expecting him to do that. So yeah, it looks like it's kind of wide open right now. And I think they signed this John Simpson guy. I think he'll be in the mix for that left guard spot right now. It feels like he's kind of the leader in the clubhouse. But yeah, maybe the rookie can slot in there and maybe win the starting job by surprise. It wouldn't be the first time it's happened with this franchise. So.
Can I ask you before you go, Raj, the pass rush? You think about it to something I was thinking about. You lose Calais Campbell, you lose Justin Houston, you're losing almost 20 sacks. Ajabo, while he is fantastic, he's coming off an injury, he's unproven. He did have a sack in his one game last year. Owe, we don't know. I don't want to say the B word, but we don't know. Tyus Bowser isn't really a sack guy, but he's actually going to be healthy this year. They got to replace Jake 20 sacks. And I love Chucky Smith. What do you think this pass rush is going to be? Do you think they wait to maybe add a guy? Because I think they may need another piece. But the Matabikes of the world, the Travis Jones, Broderick Washington, these are guys who are going to want to get paid as well next year. Do they step up and maybe fill that void in-house?
Yeah, it's almost like, why don't you just take that money if you're not going to use it on Hopkins and just go get Justin Houston and bring him back and have him give you 6.5 sacks or whatever it's going to be? Like, I don't know. It just feels like the guy can still certainly get it done in his career. I mean, it felt like he found the fountain of youth at points last year with Mike McDonald taking over as the coordinator. It just felt like he found a whole new perspective on things. And I'd be excited to see if he could do that yet again for 2023. And it feels like he certainly couldn't do much worse with some of the options that you have right now. I mean, like, let's figure something out here, man. Let's start producing a little bit. It's time to do something or do something else, right? And then you've got obviously Ojabo, you mentioned, very talented, but a little raw, a little unproven. I think Jadeveon Clowney's kind of still sneaky sitting around out there. I don't know if they would want to bring him in.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would be necessarily a great fit, but it feels like there's, to your point, a lot of production that they really need to figure out a way to replace. And I'm not sure if they have all the answers they need on the roster right now.
My last question is this. The last time we went to London, we got completely annihilated. We're going back to London this season against the Titans. One, are you afraid? You shouldn't be afraid, but because I remember Byron, he took a trip up to London and he saw that epic beatdown in person. So hopefully it should be a much closer score. But also just not just London. We have a couple other games that are, I think, one is in Los Angeles and one is in San Francisco on the road. Big time games.
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. What do you think about the Ravens traveling to all these different long road games this season?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'd be curious to, and if I don't have the schedule in front of me right now, I'd be curious.
I can pull it up for you if you need.
Yeah, I'd be curious to
I
see like
got you.
how they match up to like where you are the week prior. Because I think back to 2019, and they did a lot of traveling that year, but they had a schedule which was very unconventional where they were home and away, alternating every single week. They're not doing that this year, but I'd be curious to see if it's a little bit like alleviated, where it's like you're home for a couple weeks, then you do a road trip, home a couple weeks, then you do a road trip. So I'd have to take a look at it and see exactly what that looks like. Okay, so taking a look at it, yeah, they got a couple stretches there. Obviously, you can see where you're doing a homestand and then you're away for a couple weeks, and then there is a little bit of alternating that goes on. So, maybe it'll be kinder to them. And the London thing, I don't know. I get a lot of enjoyment out of the London thing. Like people are just so scarred by it these days that like anytime it comes up, like we all just did, you start smiling. And like I like John Harbaugh just endlessly entertains me. And like the fact that he like called it the worst loss in Ravens history, it's just like it just makes me laugh. Like I just think it's such a John thing to say. And like that he's gonna be super pumped up to like have some sort of like approach that they're going to take into it. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I mean, they're playing the Titans. Like the way things sit right now, they should go and take care of business against the Titans. But I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. You would have thought that about the Jaguars that year, but they wound up going to the AFC Championship game. So who knows?
Facts.
How do you feel about this division, Jake? Deshaun Watson, he's an unknown, but if he's Deshaun Watson from 2-3 years ago, that's arguably a top 5 quarterback. Kenny Pickett, yeah, you may have your skepticisms of him. Dre actually loves him. He came in here and beat us last year. 2-minute drive to get a game on the drive. You look at Joe Burrow, he's still the best quarterback in the division. That's just my opinion. But he is the guy. He's been to 2 straight AFC Championship games. He's been to a Super Bowl. This division is not going to be easy. I think whoever can somehow get the 4 wins in that division can win it, Jake.
Yeah, if you get Deshaun Watson from last year, the Browns can win 6 games at least, I think. Like, he looked solid to me. So, like, if he can get back to the form or even close to the form that he had in Houston, then they'll be competitive. And I expect they will be either way. They've got a good coach team over there, very talented roster. Steelers are going to win 8 games with their eyes closed every single year. And if Kenny Pickett turns into anything, they should threaten for double-digit wins. I think Bengals will be strong again. They've got an offense that's just too good not to be strong. It's almost, too big to fail. So hopefully it works out for them the same way that it did for the Banks that were supposed to be too big to fail and they fall on their ass, but I'm not expecting that to happen. And yeah, I don't know. It's just it's going to be competitive, man. It's always competitive. A lot of pride in this division, a lot of pride between these rivalries and a lot of mutual respect. But yeah, man, I think it's going to be a dogfight. But I don't know. I think the Ravens are right there at the top with any of them. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Bengals just won the division for the 3rd year in a row, but I think the Ravens will give them a good fight.
Besides the Bengals, do you see any other threat in the AFC? Because that seems to be the hardest conference right now. Do you see another team that could possibly get the Ravens from getting to their ultimate goal of winning a championship?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to look at the Chiefs. I just feel like it's just going to run through the Chiefs every single year as long as Mahomes is, the guy that we know him to be right now. He's just one of the all-time best quarterbacks I think I've ever seen. He's in the running to be the best I've ever seen. And if he keeps this pace up, he's got 2 rings now and feels like he's just going to keep rolling. So Chiefs, I'm definitely keeping an eye on, man. And it's interesting. Like the Jets, how's that going to work out? Like what's going to go on with Aaron?
They're going to jet, Jake. The Jets are going to jet. Just wait on it. They might make the playoffs, but they're going to let you down when you need them most.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that will happen. And wouldn't that be the worst thing to happen to Aaron Rodgers? I mean, what a nice guy.
We love it.
We
love it.
Yeah.
We love it up here.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, very competitive division, but to me, it all just comes down to Kansas City, who can beat them. And like I said, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily pick the Ravens if they were to play them tomorrow, but the Ravens have done it before. They've beaten Mahomes, which not every team can say they've done. So I could at least see them getting it done in some scenarios.
We call them the tribal chiefs on this show.
Oh man. Go ahead, Dre. You got anything else?
So if you were to see the Ravens in the Super Bowl right now, who do you think they would be facing out of the NFC?
That's a good question. I probably just pick the Eagles again. Like that's probably pretty cliche, but it's like who's going to
not the 49ers?
That was my first thought because I love Kyle Shanahan, but just quarterback wise, like I don't know what's going on there. I mean, Brock Purdy's dealing with Tommy John surgery. We don't even know if he's going to be back this year. You got Sam Darnold in the mix there. I'm sure Shanahan will make him look like, a competent starter, but is that going to take them all the way to the Super Bowl? Who knows? So yeah, I mean, 49ers definitely, like, I kind of want that to happen because they're like my favorite team to watch. That's not the Ravens. They're just so much fun and kind of a throwback type of team too, which I think is cool. So that would be good, but I would probably I'd probably pick the Eagles to repeat. The NFC is just so fluky. Like, they don't have quarterbacks like the NFC does. And if you got a quarterback like the Eagles do, I feel like that's pretty predictive to you having some success. So yeah, cliche answers, I would pick the Eagles, but yeah, maybe a fun team like the 49ers. That would be cool.
And let me follow up about that. Do you think that Jalen Hurts' deal made Lamar sign his deal, or do you think that was already in the mix happening?
I think it had to have helped. I mean, it had to have helped. Like, they were sitting there and no progress was being made. No move was being made. It kind of felt like they were waiting for a domino to drop. Like, what is this next one going to look like? Is it going to be Burrow? Is it going to be Hurts? Who's it going to be? Is he going to get anything close to that fully guaranteed number that Lamar was definitely looking for? And when Hurts signed, and it was just kind of the standard boilerplate, I'm the next quarterback, so I'm going to get the next, contract that's going to be a little bit more money than the next guy. I think Lamar definitely took stock, and I think the fact that they had done the non-exclusive tag and he had gotten the chance to see that his market was maybe not what he was hoping that it would be for a variety of different reasons, nothing really to do with his skill, but just sort of the overall context of it. I think he kind of just said, you know what, like, it's time to move past this. And like, I could walk to DeCosta right now and I could up this Jalen Hurts deal. How about I just go and do that and just make everyone's life easier and hopefully try and go win a Super Bowl next year and all the years moving forward.
Can Lamar Jackson, and I'll leave you with this, and I thought about this, can he throw for 4,000 and run for 1,000?
Ooh.
Future video coming soon.
He did like what, 35 and 1,000?
I think he had like 38 one year.
He was close.
38 the MVP year with like 1,200 rushes.
Yeah, and he played. I
rushing.
think he only played 15 games, and
don't forget they sat out like 3/4 quarters or something.
Yeah, and that was pre-schedule expansion too. I mean, you're talking about what, 17 full games now, and if he plays in all of them, yeah, I could definitely see it, especially with the additions to the receiver room. I feel like he's going to be throwing for more volume, and I don't know. I don't really expect the rushing production to go way down. So yeah, I could see him, maybe barely crack that 1,000 mark and then throw for 4,000. Certainly, maybe not 6,000 like you talking about. Let's start with 4. Let's see if we can get there.
Bet. Anything else, fellas?
I think we covered like all the bases.
Yeah, we did. Jake, what do you guys have cooking up at the Exit 52 podcast? Again, for people who don't know, let them know how to keep up with you. How can they follow you? What you got coming out? New episodes, new content coming up, as football season is about 2 months away.
Yeah, it is. It's coming up, so we're going to be all over that. Me and my guy Spenny, we previously just covered the Ravens exclusively, so now we're with an outlet that allows us to do a little bit of both, but we're going to be firing the Ravens content back up in a big way, starting with training camp, I think, and then just running all the way through the season. So we'll be recording, I think, twice weekly once the regular season starts up, give you a little recap and preview of each game. So yeah, that's going to be a ton of fun, but we're a couple months away from that. So right now we're kind of right in the thick of it with the Orioles, like you guys were talking about. They're right here in the mix in the American League. So a lot of Orioles talk. I've got a little bit of a special project that is Ravens specific that I think people are going to like. I'm not totally ready to share details, but that's just kind of a watch this space. Check me out on social media at Jake Luke on Twitter, LOUQUE, and I'll be talking about the details of that in a couple weeks. So yeah, just kind of, tune into the podcast, Exit 52 podcast. It's on YouTube as well for most of the episodes. And yeah, we just kind of, we're hanging out, we're having fun, we're talking sports, we're talking life in Baltimore. And yeah, it's a fun time. So hope you guys will check us out.
Hey, we'll definitely be tuned in, and we're going to have to get you back on during the season if you got some time and see how this thing is rolling, man. We're hoping at least the AFC Championship game, like you mentioned.
Yeah, anytime, guys. Happy to do it.
Appreciate it. One more time. Give it up for Jake and the Exit 52 podcast yet again. Jake, thank you again, brother. We'll talk to you down the line. Big shout out to the Exit 52 podcast. Showing love tonight. Coming through on the podcast. Great conversation as always. Love getting the local flavor here on the Flex Zone podcast. You guys know the vibes as well as we inch closer, as we mentioned, to episode 400. You guys want to get into this Chris Paul trade? Because that was kind of the big news of the past week. Again, NBA draft was last week. Then we got word that Chris Paul was traded, not to the Lakers, Dre. I know you want him. Not to the Heat, not to the Celtics, but to the Golden State Warriors for Jordan Poole, Mr. Ice Spice himself. Because remember,
come on now, say it with me. Everybody beats the Wiz.
You have a new point guard. Dre, you want to go first, or you want Roger, the resident Wizards fan, to go? How you feeling?
You know what? I'll go. Chris Paul. You see that he got traded to Washington, and then from Washington to Golden State. But either team, I don't think it fits him fairly good. The Golden State Warriors are a fast-paced team, and I just don't see how, unless he's coming off the bench, I just don't see how that's really a good fit for the Golden State Warriors. Now I know that they had to get rid of Jordan Poole, and Jordan Poole had better numbers when he was without Steph than with Steph, so I could see Jordan. I knew that Jordan Poole was going to get moved. Whether or not Draymond signs was going to opt in or opt out, I just didn't see Jordan Poole lasting with the Golden State Warriors. But I'm curious to see where exactly does Chris Paul go, because he may not even stay with Golden State at this aspect. They could still move him. There are some teams that could use a Chris Paul, hence the Lakers. I think that Boston would actually be. I think Boston could use him. Miami is interesting now that you brought that up. I didn't really consider Miami in the mix for him.
There's another guy they might be in the mix for, which we'll get to in a second.
They should be in the mix for that guy. But no, I honestly just question at this state of his career, because that was on one of the polling questions. What should Chris Paul do? And one of the things was retire.
Oh yeah. Shout out to the poll.
So I'm glad that he got his money, but this is the thing though with him, like people like James Harden, Kyrie Irving, they may be in their last final stages of those max contracts and start looking into these, and Westbrook too, into these 1-year deals, because I just don't see the body of work and the older age now with them, the level of maturity and the years on their bodies to give them these max contracts that they're seeking, because there's a lot of young talent, as we just seen from the NBA draft. We see people, even though with the foolishness that's going on with like John Morant, but you got him, you got Fox out there with the Kings. So there is plenty of young talent still there. And I mean, look at the Denver Nuggets alone. They're entering their prime. So there's a lot of young talent in the league where you don't need a lot of these older guys now to kind of get you over the hump. So I just don't see what's going on with Chris Paul, and maybe they can get him a team that can actually fit him. I was kind of shocked that the Suns even traded Chris Paul in the first place, but then again, I was shocked that they fired their coach. So I just don't know what the Suns are even doing, and I don't know where Chris Paul ultimately lands, because I don't see him staying with the Golden State Warriors, because like I said, I don't think that this is a good fit, being the level, his style and their style.
Raj, how you feeling? And also, real quick with your Wizards, Raj, Porzingis traded to the Celtics, so it looks like a full rebuild for the Wizards.
I mean, it was shocking to see Chris Paul be a Golden State Warrior, but I mean, he's about to be 39 years old going into next season. I think his time as a starter is coming to an end. I mean, he's been getting hurt these past 4 or 5 years, like every time in the playoffs, it seems like, and this year was no different. So if he's the backup to Steph, that would be cool for him. Maybe he can, be healthy for the playoffs, going into the playoffs. Maybe he can take some breathing room off of Steph as well. But yeah, man, to me, it is a okay trade, but Jordan Poole, I guess he got traded because Draymond is going back to Golden State. So And Draymond and Jordan Poole, had an altercation last season in the locker room. So I understand why they wanted to break those two up. But Chris Paul being a Golden State Warrior is going to be awkward. But I understand why Golden State did what they did. Jordan Poole, on the other hand, I think this is going to be a good thing for him. I think he needs a fresh start after getting punched in the face and getting beat down. He played all right, during the regular season, but it seemed like when he played the Lakers in the postseason, he just was occupied with other things than just basketball, if you know what I mean. You can search that yourself on the internet. But I think fresh start with the Wizards, they are rebuilding, so he will be getting a lot of time on the court. I think he can be pretty good with the Wizards. I think he can do good things. And it depends on how they build this team up as well. I saw they drafted 4 players this past draft.
I think they had a good draft. I do think they had a good draft.
They drafted a lot of small forwards, and if I'm not mistaken, too. So one of those guys got to pan out. So I think this is a pretty much the first start of a rebuild with the Wizards. I'm pretty sure Kyle Kuzma will be gone as well. So Jordan Poole is a good piece. And he's young, and he has a 3 or 4 year contract. So if you don't trade him, he's not going anywhere. So yeah, man, I think both teams got what they wanted. Chris Paul, he's only there for 1 year, which is also a good thing for Golden State. So if he can be off the books, they can get another player next year, the following year, or whatever. We signed Draymond Green, of course, and hopefully Klay Thompson, can get that jump shot back because he was lacking last season. So maybe with this time off that he's having right now, because I know they won a championship the year before that. He didn't get his legs underneath of him. Hopefully this season he'll be going into it, with a better jump shot. His legs is fresh, and he'll give Steph some more help.
Let's get to another point guard. There were rumors today that Damian Lillard met with Portland Trail Blazers management about his future. The Blazers drafted a point guard, Scoot Henderson, who's pretty good in the draft. Dre, I'm gonna go to you again, man. I know you love Dame. You want him in LA. I know you want him in LA. But we mentioned the Heat. Angela brought up the Knicks about Chris Paul. I could see the Knicks maybe trying to get a Dame Lillard. Philly, you've always said Philly, put him with Embiid. Do you think he gets traded, or is he just going to be loyal to a fault and be one of those guys who just stays with that team and suffers kind of because they ain't making the playoffs in the West?
No, they're not. And it's such a shame because I understand, Dame, you want to stay loyal. You want to have your career with one team. But, I mean, even people like Dirk was able to win a championship. He had a couple runs in the playoffs. Kobe was able to, stay with the Lakers through all the ups and downs. But what up really has the Portland Trail Blazers had? I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think they made it to a Western Conference Finals a few years ago. But I mean, they already you saw the writing on the wall when CJ got traded. Once CJ got traded, I was like, yeah, they need to Dame just dub it, man. You don't want to be a part of a rebuild, and that's what they're on right now. Like you said, getting Scoot, that's a really good move, but it's still going to take time for this young team to develop. Dame needs to be in an organization where they're ready to win now, because Dame could be the missing piece to get a championship. I know Rod just talked about the Lakers, and I mean, he would be great with the Lakers because he has great shooting, and that's something that the Lakers definitely need because they have the defense, but they just need the scoring aspect of it. I always said Philadelphia would be good because Dame just seems like he fits Philly. Like, he just seems like he's kind of like just like that backbone of it. The Knicks, I mean, the Knicks could use a star, but he's aging. That's the thing. If this was a prime Dame, then I would be all in for the Knicks, because I think that they deserve somebody like that, especially when they didn't give. Well, they gave Carmelo help, but they were just all injury prone, the people that they were surrounding him with. So, it ended up not panning out to what it should have been in New York. And another team that you threw in the mix was the Miami Heat. I could see that because the Miami Heat, but the thing is, Miami, they're a small team, but they could use some scoring. So if they could get some more size in there, along with Dame, Butler, Bam, I think that that would definitely get them over the hump of where they need to be. But it's really difficult to say where Dame is going to be exactly. But my picks would either be Philly or Miami, just because I think that Dame could give both organizations a need at their positions. But I don't know, because he's been in Portland so long, and now he's saying that he wants to stay, and the GM is saying that he wants him to stay. I mean, but then again, we know in sports people lie all the time. Men lie, women lie, the numbers don't lie. Dame needs to go, and at this point, if you're rebuilding, get all that you can get for Dame and relieve him, because it's like that relationship that just doesn't like want to end, but you know it's over. Like at this point, just let it be over. We've been talking about this. Honestly, I think we've been talking about this since we started the goddamn podcast. So at this point, just break it up, man. Get some aspects, get some assets for Dame, and then also put Dame in a winning position, because he deserves it.
And it looks like the Lakers are going to match any offer for Austin Reeves, Raj, as well, and Dre. So they'll be probably keeping your boy.
Which I think that we don't mind, because I mean, and I mean, Raj is about to take the floor, but I mean, as a Lakers fan, I think that he did fairly well in the playoffs, and I think that he was one of the people that stepped up over this playoff run, unlike a D'Angelo Russell. But I mean, Raj, you give your thoughts.
No, no, no. I'm happy that they're gonna keep Austin Reeves. I thought he was phenomenal. These last 2 years, he's been stepping his game up big time. This year, he's shown in the playoffs that he's a really reliable asset to the team. So, hats off to him. I hope he stays here for a long time. Even when LeBron James leaves, I think he's going to be a really good player for the Lakers. Now with Damian Lillard, I agree with everything you said, Dre. I think it's time. I think Dame knows it's time. It's just time. It's just get out of there at this time. At this point, man. I mean, you're 33 years old. There's no point in rebuilding. By the time you do rebuild, you'll be probably my age. You'll be 36. If you want to be a contender, and I just don't see it. I mean, nobody really wants to go to Portland like that, besides Scottie Pippen. And that was back in 99, 98 or whatever. But
Last good run they had.
well, no, the last good run they had, they actually went to the Western Conference Finals with Dame and CJ McCollum, but 2019. But even though that team somewhat was a fluke too, because Golden State, I think ended up, they ended up beating them, but it was what it was. So I just think it's time for Dame to get a new situation. I think Miami's a good spot for him. The Lakers could be a good spot for him. Any other contending team will be a good spot for him. So there's no point in delaying the inevitable. I understand that you want to be loyal to the Portland Trailblazers because they drafted you, and you don't want to be like a lot of these other guys, just ring chasing. But you got to look at it this way, man. Do you want to not have a chance to win a championship, or do you just want to be great in Portland and not win anything and be be like guys like Charles and Patrick Ewing and Reggie Miller, who all stayed with the same team? Well, not Charles Barkley, but Patrick Ewing and Reggie Miller stayed with the same team almost their whole career and didn't win a damn thing. I don't think you want to do that. So I say get out of there while you can, and try to get a championship ring, man, and you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
I agree. I think that when I was saying that Scotty was a part of that last team, because like you said, I felt like the last time they made it to the Western Conference Finals, it was kind of fluky and it wasn't exciting. I think that when you had Scotty on that team for Portland when they took on the Lakers, like they were exciting. I can't with Mark.
And Angela got a question for you as well, Dre.
And Angela, is Paul going to the Knicks versus Dame versus Melo going to the Lakers? I felt like with that I felt like we've been talking about Melo should have been paired with LeBron years ago, and I think that was just kind of like let him get a last ride into the league. And I don't think that Melo did too bad with the Lakers, honestly. Um, but um, Chris Paul going to the Knicks, I just feel like the Knicks deserve better. Like even the Lakers, like we had our ups and downs, but we were still able to get a championship. We were able to sign LeBron James. We were able to trade for um, Anthony Davis. I feel like the Knicks like have these just spurts of they'll do good, then they'll do horrible for years, come up for a little bit, and then go back down. I would love to see some consistency with the Knicks. I would love to see them sign a big free agent, and I would like to see them trade for a guy as well, to just so that way I think the basketball world is just better when you have, like, we talk about the Lakers, we talk about the Celtics, we talk about the 76ers, but we fail to always talk about the New York Knicks because they've been a joke for so long. But Knicks fans are out there more than Spike Lee. And it's nothing like going to Madison Square Garden. Those fans are loyal. They've been craving for a championship or somebody that could really help them out. So to me, I think that the Knicks you just have to get somebody out there, and I just don't see that it being Dame right now or Chris Paul. I felt like if they could get somebody, I know they were talking about Zion with the draft, and I think they're pretty happy that they got R.J. Barrett instead of Zion Williamson. But and look, I mean, just
They
kind of
hate
just being
RJ.
honest.
They don't like RJ either. He might be out of there.
I don't think that they like RJ, but I think that RJ turned out a little better when you look at the draft compared
Well,
to Zion.
he's
Because
just
I think and I think it's a future question that we may have to have on the show about potentially saying the B word when it comes to Zion.
no,
When
no, no.
when
You
he
guys,
when he
You
when
think
he
no,
so?
when
You
he
think so,
no,
Dre?
no.
when
You gotta say the
when
C word. You gotta say the C word when it comes to Zion, and it's called cheeks because that's what he's been chasing. He's been chasing cheeks instead of
uh,
getting out there and training and doing what he's supposed to do to get on the court. So
but I think that should be a future topic. We'll take that. Right.
yeah,
Is that what he's
yeah,
been trying to do?
He
exactly.
he is. But
Yeah,
I think
we can
that, like I
definitely.
said, that
That's a
could be.
great topic, Dre. Because I mean, he ain't on the court, so what the hell is he?
Yeah. Little teaser, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we got some topics coming to you guys. Let us know though. What do you guys think about the Dame Lillard situation? Chris Paul, Jordan Poole, a lot of free agency heating up. I believe free agency starts in about 2 weeks.
I think so, and I think they can start signing people
I know you're
Friday.
talking about. Yeah. Well, Friday is free agency.
Okay, Friday. This Friday they can start legal tampering. I think, right? Is that what they call it? Yeah. So you'll hear stuff this week. So we'll be here on the channel, breaking news, shorts, and videos, and seeing what happens. And hopefully, you guys Lakers get who you want to try to help LeBron James get that ring he's looking for. We have a WWE PLE this weekend, and we'll leave it at that before we get out of here. Money in the Bank, as Raj puts up his hands. You excited? You excited, Raj? Money in the Bank this weekend, Raj. How you feeling, man, about this whole situation?
I'm not even gonna lie to the public right now. I didn't even know there was a pay-per-view this week. I did not. I'm being honest with you.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Stop lying to the people.
Look, real quick. And not only is it a pay-per-view on Saturday, I don't know if you know this either. I'm not trying to be funny. It starts at 3 p.m. because they're in London.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until today. Be honest with you, I probably won't watch it because I got something I got to do on Saturday. But I know one match in particular that I'm going to probably check out later on that day. Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa versus the Usos. I think that's probably going to be the main event match, of course. And it's going to be a pretty good match. So I'm going to check that out. I can't wait to see what happens with that. I think Roman and his cousin is going to win. I don't think the Usos are going to win. But I can't wait to see that. The Money in the Bank itself, I hate to say it, I think Logan Paul is going to take it. I think Vince is going to allow him to have the briefcase. And you already, to be honest with you, you already know where this is going. He's going to cash in on Seth Rollins, and he's going to take his world heavyweight belt from him. That's where he's going to lose the belt to. He's going to lose to him. And it's going to be typical Vince McMahon type of things. And I'm not going to be surprised because that's why I think that this is going.
Yeah!
There you go, Vince. There you go, Vince. Other than that, I don't even know the other matches, to be honest with you. Maybe you can tell me something about it.
Yeah, we got the women's Money in the Bank, men's Money in the Bank, Bloodline. You mentioned Seth and Finn. We have, I think we're going to get Dominic and Cody, which is a big WC. And do we get Gunther? I don't know if he's going in, but I think those are like the main matches.
I haven't even seen Gunther in the last like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not. And where's Bobby Lashley?
You know why? You know why you haven't seen him.
No.
We wondering a whole bunch of stuff, man.
But yeah, man. To be honest with you, this pay-per-view is a big WC. Hopefully it's a good pay-per-view. It should be, maybe, depending on how it's booked. But this is a Vince McMahon production. He's been hit or miss yet again, and he's doing his typical silly things as he likes to do every now and again. So not really looking forward to it, but I will check out some of the matches. Maybe even during a telecast if I have time, but we shall see.
And of course, we will be live. I did. We got a couple previews I'm working on, so those will be coming to you guys tomorrow, starting tomorrow, Rod. So,
look out for them. Definitely gonna be
look out for them tomorrow. Yes, sir. Dre, how you feeling, brother? I know you're gonna be watching the Bloodline, Tribal Chief.
Oh yeah, you already know. You're the ones, right? No, I pulled up something on my phone because you saying Logan Paul winning the Money in the Bank briefcase. Now Logan Paul can wrestle, unlike this guy, but it just feels like if he was to win the Money in the Bank contract and then cash in, it would feel like when David Arquette won the WCW title. Like that, just like that was the worst. I know we talked about some horrible moments in WCW history, but that was by far the worst out of all of them. I think that's right up there with the Poke. Like it's just so horrible if he wins. My pick is LA Knight. I think that LA Knight would be a great Money in the Bank contract winner. And I think that he should be the one to cash in on Seth because there's so much talent and so much to get behind when it comes to somebody like an LA Knight. And this could be that thing that propels him. Of course, we already know what it is with the Bloodline, but I disagree with you, Raj. I think the Usos win this match. And I think then Roman at SummerSlam fights Jimmy with Jay turning on him in the match and coming back to the Bloodline.
Ooh, I would love to see that.
I think that because you know SummerSlam, we always have that thing that just kind of like stands out. Usually when it comes to these type of situations. I mean, we saw it years ago when it was Daniel Bryan and John Cena, and Daniel Bryan wins the World Championship only for Triple H to turn his back on him, and then Randy Orton cashes in the contract. So I think that that's the direction that they'll probably go in, because I just don't know who Roman would face at SummerSlam. Now, it would be great if they were to have. See, if they didn't have this Civil War match, then I would have said at SummerSlam you have a 3-on-3. You have Paul Heyman, Solo, and Roman versus Rikishi and the Usos. That's right. What I would have. That's what I would have held off this match and waited until about SummerSlam, so that way we could have all everybody facing each other that way. Or you can have The Rock come back finally, so that way you have the since they're doing a Civil War, and then of course The Rock is that guy when it comes to their family, and then Roman being the guy who's the tribal chief of the family. So those would be some of the angles that I would go with, but I just see that's the direction that I see it going in. Like you said, anything else with the pay-per-view? I mean, you have Cody and Dominic, and that doesn't seem exciting at all. I can't think of what you have. Both the men and the women's matchups. From the women's side, it would be nice to see who's the girl from Io Scott. It would be nice to see. It would be nice to see Io win it. I think on the women's side, honestly, I wouldn't have any of those women win it. If what I would do from a creative aspect is you have a disgruntled Bianca Belair. Belair didn't get her rematch. Charlotte and it's going to be Charlotte and Asuka this Friday. What I would do is I would have the match, not have Bianca interfere at all, but instead win the Money in the Bank and then cash it in probably on like Charlotte, and then they have a feud for SummerSlam. Then because at that point you're flip flopping it. You have Charlotte who's the face, and then Bianca as a heel, and I think that Bianca would do fairly good in either role. She's good as a face, but I think she would do really good. Her character could do really good as a heel. But those are some of the things that I would do. But if not Bianca, then definitely I like I said, I like Io Sky. I think that she would be a good Money in the Bank winner. So those are the only things that I can think of when it comes to that particular pay-per-view. Because like you said, I mean, there have been some missing components. I mean, we haven't seen Bobby Lashley and who knows when. We haven't seen Gunther. We haven't seen our boy Roger. Well, maybe he has been on, but I haven't seen him.
He's been on. He's been on more so than those other guys.
Oh, really? And is he still dishing out the whoopings?
He's still dishing out the ass whoopings.
That's all we come for, man. It's the ass whoopings. But
no Bray Wyatt still, Drew McIntyre.
We don't. I think Drew. I heard Drew was hurt, but I'm not sure of his exact status. But you're right. But you're right. There's so many things that they're missing. And it doesn't. You can tell like the feel isn't the same since the return of Vince, because the wrestling just seemed to be better when it was Triple H booking the show, and now you just see that it's kind of slowly reverting back to the same old. Because if it wasn't for the, like you said, the bloodline storyline, then I don't know if we're still even really talking about WWE, which is a shame because you have great tag team matches that are going on, especially with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, whether or not they take on the Usos, or it could be, as you saw, Roman and Solo, whoever. They seem to have really good matches. You still got Sheamus and the Brawling Brutes. You still got Gunther. You still got, like you said, Bobby Lashley. I mean, there's a lot of good wrestlers that are still on this roster that just haven't been utilized in the way that they should. And I think that Seth is doing a good job with the world title, but the world title is probably going to end up being like that title that just constantly changes, because clearly the universal title is the one that's the staple. But I do want to ask the gentleman before we close the show, why is Roman still holding on to 3 belts? Like, I thought that the whole purpose of giving him the one title was so that way he could be the undisputed universal heavyweight champion, and he's still going around with 3 belts. I didn't get what was the point of giving him a 3rd belt. If that's the case, he could have just held on to the 2 belts.
To be honest with you, it's just stupid. I mean, everything that they've been doing so far with changing the belts and making them all white and giving them new designs, but taking off the Raw and the SmackDown moniker of them has just been dumb. It just has been. And I don't really like the new looks of the belts. I haven't grown accustomed to it. I still don't like them. I don't like the fact that it is not a Raw and a SmackDown belt anymore. A lot of the things that's going on in the WWE right now is just mind-boggling, especially with tonight with Carmelo Hayes losing to Finn Balor. Carmelo Hayes is supposed to be, pushed. I ain't gonna say to the moon, but damn, I mean, he coming out the gate just losing to Finn Balor. It's just stuff like that. That's just.
Let me ask you this then, Raj. Now you said they took off on the women's side. At least they took off the Raw and the SmackDown. What is the belts? Because both.
Who knows? I don't know.
I think one is the undisputed and one is the world heavyweight. Something is goofy.
Because it's just confusing when it comes to the women. Because I'm like, okay, I can distinguish the two. In the men's side, you can see that, okay, there's the universal, there was the world. I actually like the design of the. I told you I'm a fan of the new Universal Championship belt, that all gold. I like that belt, but um I was getting ready to call it the A title, but the world title. That one kind of is like, I wish they would have brought back Big Gold. That's the one. That's one title. I just wish that they would honestly bring back. I liked Big Gold. That's just the belt to me. Um, as far as the women, that is confusing, and I do like it that they're unifying the women's tag belts. I think that should have been happened because the division when it comes to women's tag wrestling is kind of but we'll see with this pay per view. I think most of us will probably have to end up catching it later, being that it's on a Saturday at 3. It's just such a weird time. But I think that it'll be an okay pay per view. I think what WWE should have did is, I know that they're trying to do this thing with Money in the Bank, but maybe they should have thought about possibly SummerSlam in the UK. I think that might have been a cool move, maybe, or to have SummerSlam in Puerto Rico, like how they just did with their last pay per view. I think there are just some components that you just think like, okay, just something different. Because I know they've had SummerSlam in the UK before when the British Bulldog won the Intercontinental Championship from Bret the Hitman Hart. So it's possible to do these, big pay-per-views out of the country. I would love to see the 6. I would love to see them get it. I mean, they had WrestleMania 6 before, so why not bring that back? There's just so many things that WWE could be doing when it comes to these pay-per-views and these storylines.
Well, I'll be here watching Money in the Bank. It's at 3, so thankfully when it's over, I still have the rest of my day. Best thing about these Saturday pay-per-views. That's all we got, right, Trey? Raj? That's all we got for you guys tonight.
That's all we got.
Jersey Dre, we are inching closer to episode 400, but before we get to 400, we got to get to 399. That is going to be next. Well, we won't be here next Monday, correct? Because of the 4th of July holiday?
Because the holiday, yep. So
following in 2 weeks. So we'll be divvying out some topics. Anything you want to tease with the people? Any guests? Or we're just rolling with the...
Look, episode 400 coming up in a few weeks. You don't know who's going to be on. But whoever is on, you're definitely going to want to tune in. It's going to be a very fun episode. As well as episode 399. Don't just skip all the way to 400. We got another episode coming. You see that tonight we had the Exit 52 podcast on. 399, you don't know who's going to be on. 400, you don't know who's going to be on. That's why you got to stay tuned, like and subscribe right here every Monday at 10. We're here giving you sports how you want it, when you need it. Thank you, Mark.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Executive producer Andre Melton. Big Raj, the birthday boy, cancer season. Social media producer. Raj, a lot of stuff on the channel. How can the people keep up with us? We got Nightbot in the building. We got Mark, got Angela, got Exit 52. Big shout out to Jake once again. Miss Queen was in the building. Everybody was here.
Hey man, we doing big things, man.
David.
Great guest. Appreciate Jake from the Exit 52 podcast. Hopefully we have him back at a later date. But we got these previews for Money in the Bank coming, so you stay tuned for that. We also have the Money in the Bank live stream on Saturday with yours truly, God's favorite host, and we're gonna have some more things coming on the channel as well. Stay tuned for the NBA free agency is coming very soon. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some shakeups and things, so just stay tuned for that. I understand it's the dog days of sports, but there's going to be some news coming, so you just stay tuned.
Yes, starting tomorrow, you guys will see some Money in the Bank previews in your sub boxes. NBA free agency, we'll be on it. We'll be talking about it. We got Ravens previews coming. Some ideas of Ravens previews, some videos coming, and we'll be breaking down the positions real soon as we get ready to hit in the training camp as well. Once again, sending love to our brother Cravante.
Yes.
The senior producer, the captain of the Goofy Ship. No Goofies of the week this week, but Cravante will be back next week, I'm sure, with multiple goofies to present to you guys as we have episode 399. Angela, I saw you in the chat. I heard you may be a part of episode 400. We got to get Mark up here, man. Mark is playing, man. We got to get you on the stream, Mark. But appreciate everybody in chat. Once again, big shout out to Jake from Exit 52 Sports. Make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe to them. I'm gonna put them up one more time. Show some love to the guys over there. Appreciate them coming on the show. Flex on One, Twitter, Instagram, Gmail. Go ahead and send that super chat. You can donate. You want to support us? How can you support this show? Allow us to do what we do. Super chat us. We appreciate it. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Vote on the poll. Subscribe. Hit the bell. All the videos are coming to you live this weekend for Money in the Bank. We were live for Forbidden Door. We'll be live for AEW Dynamite. It's the Flex Zone. Only place giving you sports how you want it, fellas.
When you need it.
For Raj, for Dre, for Cravante, and for our guest Jake of Exit 52 Sports, God's favorite host, signing off. Throw up your ones and acknowledge the head of the sports podcast table. Putting the kids to bed, y'all. We're going until next week, in 2 weeks, for the episode 399. But we'll be here throughout videos, content, shorts, and so much more. We gone, y'all. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for watching. Peace.
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 The ones.